Carl Jung's lecture to the clergy in Switzerland is among the most profound and illuminating works he ever delivered. It offers a penetrating insight into the human condition, the moral struggles we face, and the path to genuine healing and self-understanding. At its heart, this lecture is about the essential human need for acceptance, not just from others, but most importantly, from ourselves. It is a call to confront the darkest corners of our psyche, and, through this confrontation, to transform and transcend. Jung begins by addressing a simple but powerful truth. People forget that even doctors, those tasked with healing, are not immune to moral scruples and discomfort. He notes, certain patients' confessions are hard even for a doctor to swallow. This statement underlines a universal struggle. In the face of another's vulnerability, especially when that vulnerability reveals something deeply unsettling, it is natural to recoil. Yet, Jung argues that true healing cannot occur unless the very worst in a person is accepted. This acceptance cannot be achieved through mere words or intellectual acknowledgement. It must stem from deep reflection and a profound attitude of compassion and understanding. This brings us to one of Jung's most revolutionary ideas, the necessity for the healer, the guide, or the companion to confront and accept their own dark side. He writes, if the doctor wants to guide another or even accompany him a step of the way, he must feel with that person's psyche. He never feels it when he passes judgment. Judgment, whether overt or silent, creates distance. It isolates the person in need and reinforces their shame. By contrast, what is required is unprejudiced objectivity. But this objectivity is not cold or detached. It is a human quality, a kind of deep respect for the facts, for the man who suffers from them, and for the riddle of such a man's life. Jung's use of the word riddle is significant. Every individual's life is a puzzle, a complex interplay of experiences, choices, and unconscious forces. To approach another person with unprejudiced objectivity is to honor this complexity. It requires humility and an acknowledgement of the divine, not in a dogmatic sense, but as an unseen presence that shapes and informs human existence. Jung captures this beautifully when he says, the truly religious person senses in everything the unseen presence of the divine will. This perspective transforms the act of healing into a sacred endeavor. It is not just about fixing what is broken, but about participating in the profound mystery of another's life. One of the most striking passages in this lecture is Jung's assertion that we cannot change anything unless we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. This statement is a direct challenge to the common tendency to judge and reject what we find unpleasant or unacceptable, in others and in ourselves. Jung identifies a paradox here. In condemning another, we become their oppressor. We deny them the space to grow, to heal, to transform. Similarly, when we condemn parts of ourselves, we become our own oppressors. We fragment our psyche and inhibit our growth. Jung takes this idea further by addressing the moral problem of self-acceptance. He writes, acceptance of oneself is the essence of the moral problem and the acid test of one's whole outlook on life. This is a profoundly challenging idea. It is relatively easy to perform acts of kindness or to forgive others. These actions are often external and visible. But to turn that same kindness and forgiveness inward, to embrace the most despised and rejected parts of ourselves, requires extraordinary courage and honesty. Jung illustrates this point with a vivid and unsettling metaphor. What if I should discover that the least among them all, the poorest of all beggars, the most impudent of all offenders, yea, the very fiend himself, that these are within me? This is the crux of Jung's argument. The enemy we must learn to love, the beggar we must learn to feed, is often within us. Yet, as Jung points out, our instinct is to deny and reject this inner reality. We hide it, condemn it, and rage against it. In doing so, we not only alienate ourselves from our true nature, but also from the divine presence that seeks to enter our hearts through these despised aspects of our being. Jung's exploration of self-acceptance has profound implications for the modern individual. He observes that modern man does not want to know in what way he can imitate Christ, but in what way he can live his own individual life. This statement captures the existential crisis of modernity. In a world that often prioritizes conformity and tradition, the individual struggles to assert their unique identity. Jung argues that this struggle is not merely selfish. It is a reflection of a deeper spiritual need. The individual must reconcile with their own nature, with the enemy in their own heart, to find true peace and fulfillment. One of the most challenging aspects of this process is confronting egoism. Jung acknowledges that egoism is often seen as a tangible evil, especially in the neurotic state. Yet, he cautions against simplistic judgments. He writes, "If I wish to effect a cure for my patients, I am forced to acknowledge the deep significance of their egoism. I must even help the patient to prevail in his egoism." This might seem counterintuitive, but Jung's point is that egoism, when understood and integrated, can become a source of strength and growth. It is only by fully experiencing and understanding their egoism that an individual can transcend it and rediscover the value of connection and community. Jung's insights culminate in a profound observation about the nature of transformation. He writes, "What was evil has turned to good, and what seemed good has kept alive the forces of evil." This is the principle of enantiodromia, or the conversion into the opposite. It is a fundamental law of life and a cornerstone of Jungian psychology. Through this process, the warring halves of the personality can be reunited, bringing an end to inner conflict and enabling true healing. This lecture is not just a theoretical treatise, it is a practical guide to navigating the complexities of human existence. Jung's words challenge us to look inward with honesty and compassion, to confront our fears and prejudices, and to embrace the fullness of our humanity. He reminds us that healing is not about erasing what is broken, but about integrating it into a larger, more meaningful whole. In conclusion, Jung's lecture to the clergy is a timeless and deeply transformative work. It speaks to the universal human struggle for acceptance, the moral challenge of self-love, and the profound mystery of personal transformation. His insights are as relevant today as they were when he first delivered them, offering a path to healing that is both deeply spiritual and profoundly human.